Hey, August 14th, your weekly Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. Lake level is 659.8. Water temp is kind of creeping back up there in mid to upper 80s. Um, currents about the same the last few weeks. They'll run anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 uh, throughout the day most of the time. But then in the afternoon, say, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 6 o'clock in the afternoons, they've been ramping it up. They may run 17 to say 22,000, so they will crank it up a little bit in the afternoons. I don't know how much that helps or doesn't, it's just a short period of time, 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. But when they do crank it up like that, they will make the fish bite a little better. Just kind of positions them, gets them in a feeding mode. Water color, lower lakes in pretty clear condition. Pretty much throughout the lake, but you start getting up in the river arms. We've had a lot of rain the past few weeks, and some of the river arms have kind of dirtied up. By no means muddy or too dirty, but they have stained up. I've spent several days on the water. This week and the week prior, and kind of all over the place as far as the fish and where I've been fishing and fishing with clients. A lot of main lake stuff, catching several fish main lake, a lot of smaller fish main lake. Any of our better fish have all seemed to be way up in the creek's arms, like way up the Gravois arm or in the backs of some of them creeks and the Gravois. Some in the Niangwas, spent a day in the Little Niangwas. Then just the other day, I guess it was actually yesterday and the day before, we was up the river, up the Osage. So that water was definitely a little dirtier, but had some pretty good fish up there too. So, mainly, man, the baits, the baits are all over. It's still obviously summer. We're mid-August, but we've had a couple of them cooler nights, just 65, one night it was even in the upper 50s. I had a lot of rain coming in, so it's kind of, these fish have kind of moved and kind of went on a pretty good bite this last couple of weeks. Catching a few more, a lot better fish and a few more of them. The baits, man, I guess probably the best, I ain't gonna say, well, the top water, we've been throwing the wop plopper a lot and catching a lot of fish on the wop plopper, especially early in the mornings. Just running seawalls, bigger rock banks, and just covering a lot of ground. Just running down the banks, almost paralleling, and your bait will hit the water and you'll retrieve it about 2 foot and want to crush it. They're right on the bank. The whopper plopper has been real good for that, and also the bait I've been using a lot is that gunfish by Lucky Craft. That's a really good bait. So if you want to throw it up there and not retrieve it real fast out of strike zone, just kind of throw it up there, let it sit a little bit, work it a couple foot, let it sit, and a lot of times they're hitting it. If it's sitting for a couple seconds and then you go to move it again, they're pouncing on it. So just two different style baits, top water baits. One, you're throwing it up and you're pretty much steady retrieving it. And the other one, you'll retrieve it out, let it sit, retrieve it, let it sit. Just depends on what mood they're in. A lot of those fish, like I said, are real shallow, and some are over the backsides of those cables where the catwalks come up to these seawalls. That seems to be the prime area. Obviously, I'm throwing it on braid, 50-pound braid on a 7-foot rod with one of them loose orange crush reels. It's just kind of a heavy duty workhorse setup, and you can horse some fish out of there when you get them hooked. So you want to throw braid on the top water, throw it over them cables. The gunfish I'm throwing it on monofilament. It just seems to work better. I'm still trying to throw over them cables. You just got to be ready to get up to them cables and get them over it, but out in the open water too. So the rigs on that. The jig bite has been getting really good. A lot more fish being caught swimming the jig. Probably my favorite setup is just a a half-ounce crocodile brown purple scale, trailed up with a swamp bug as a trailer, that big tail swimming, and just like a green pumpkin candy on that. I peel all the legs off. I tear the legs off the swamp bugs, and just put it on there like that. And it's a good trailer to swim these. I don't know. You can swim shallow docks, swim main lake docks. You just kind of got to see where the fish are set up and where they're at. A lot of it is determined by the shad, where you're seeing the shad. If you get in the backs and you see a lot of shad, fish it because the fish are back there. If you're on a main lake flats, a lot of fish are starting to get on there on the flats. A lot of shad getting out there, and then even the main lake docks over the channels have a lot of fish on it. A lot of it's just you'll see the shad, and the shad like early in the morning. It's kind of odd. Some mornings you can see them down there 8-10 foot, and the topwater bite's not quite as good unless you get back in the creeks and fish real shallow. That main lake bite seems to turn on, believe it or not, about 9 or 10 o'clock for topwater or swimming the jigs alongside them docks. And all I'm doing is just throwing that jig up to the front corner of them docks, shallow corner, and just burning it down the side. Maybe stop it a couple times on the way. When you get to the end, kill it and let it change direction and head down to where it's going to get down by them braces on them docks, and that's where them bass will come out and hit it. You catch a lot of fish like that, so it's a lot of fun. Like I said, the rig on that, it's just I'm throwing a 15-pound fluorocarbon half-ounce zapper jig with a swamp bug trailer, and it's pretty simple setup. A fast 8-to-1 lose reel on a 7-foot rod. That's in the fall, it's probably one of the best productive ways to just catch a lot of fish. You catch a lot of small fish, a lot of keeper fish, and then as we get further into the fall, and even right now, caught a 4-pounder yesterday doing it. So there's big fish out there. Sometimes they're a little lower in the water column, like down by them braces, maybe 6-8 foot down. But you just kind of got to experiment. You get up in the rivers, way up in the grabways, Osage, Niagara, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. You can do the same thing with them jigs swimming on these river arms as you would main lake. The topwater bites been good, way in the backs, around some of that grass that's standing duckweed or whatever it's called back there. It's the water's 659.8, so it's full pool, and all that grass in the backs, it might be 16-18 inches on that grass. So them fish are laying back up in there. It's real comfortable for them. And I've even heard some guys throwing some frogs back in that grass and working it through that grass, and as it gets to the edge, them fish will explode on it. Great place for topwater too. Like I said, either one of those topwaters, even chug bugs, spooks, anything back there around them shallows. A lot of bluegill back in there spawning, so them bass are back in there feeding. They'll get out on them open flats, in the mornings and throughout the evenings, and you can catch them back in there. You can just go around fan cast with a rattle trap. Will catch you a lot of fish. A little KVD 2.5, working really good up in them rivers. Just throwing it right up in them flat banks and just letting it dig around, root around them laydowns, root around the shallow docks, and that's catching a lot of fish too. That's another one. You just cover a lot of ground with it, and you're going to get a lot of bites on it. Worms, obviously your 10-inch worms, flipping them, around the shallow docks is real good. And also, if the shallow bite's not going, fishing these brush piles, say, 12 to 18 foot seems to be pretty productive. With a big 10-inch worm or even a jig, find that brush, work it through it, try to maybe work over the top of it pretty quick the first couple casts, and then drag it through it and just let it soak in that brush pile. Just let it lay in there for a long time, and fish a lot of times will finally come in there and react and pick it up. So kind of got to mess with the brush piles to see how they're acting, if they're up on the tops of them or if they're buried down in that brush, depending on how you're going to fish it. But the fishing's been good. I would say no trouble going out and catching a lot of fish. the 4, 5, 6 pounders. They're a little tough sometimes, but they're coming around. Definitely caught some this week, so it's definitely picking up as far as size goes. Kind of early, really early, but a lot of fish are pushing up, and I contribute a lot of that to last week's cold, cool down as far as the water temp. It really dropped, I don't know, 8, 10, almost 9 degrees. So I really got a lot of fish moving shallow and feeding. So we'll see what happens with the weather if they move back out or move back out of them shallows. But a lot of it's just the shad are up there and the bluegill are up there, and the fish are just up there feeding on them. Other baits that are working well, like a brush hog. If you're going to go flipping shallow and you're seeing them big shad, you can't get them to come up to the top. Just a big brush hog, like this June bug color, and just rig it on one of these 7/16 or 5/16 gator lock. That's what they're made for. Got that awesome keeper Wayne Fitzpatrick come up with. You just put your bait on there, push it up through the plastic, and it hooks on that shaft and holds these soft baits on there for a long time. You can flip and catch several fish on it. Works great for brush hogs, swamp bug seniors, tubes, tubes, you just name it, like the muskrats, the beavers, any of them. It works perfect for flipping, and it just holds your bait up tight to the head. It's got a big solid flipping hook, on it, a good weed guard. It's just perfect for when you're flipping shallow docks or flipping way back underneath there, and you're putting a lot of torque on your rods, and where there's plastics, a lot of time will tear or kind of get wallered out. That keeper system really keeps them on there tight and allows you to get a lot of fish. And when you're skipping, your bait's not constantly sliding down off like a keeper, like on a traditional jig or something. So those work really well. Your worms, like I said, the 10-inch Berkeley Power Worms, the Gary Yamamotos are really good this time of year. Those cut tails, and of course just your regular Zoom Mag Finesse worm has been working really good. It's we're getting. I mentioned topwater, and the topwater bites starting to come around a little earlier. Usually it's about September. So we're like a couple weeks ahead. But as we get into September, we get these cold fronts, cool down, these cold nights, and them shallows start cooling off. The bass, they're going to start moving up there. The shad are moving up there, and they're ready to start feeding. So, it's the time to, get ready for this topwater bite. We kind of all look forward to it this time of year. Last year I switched over to my batteries. Like I've talked before, the batteries are so important. But I've switched over to these Deca Intimidators, Group 31 AGM batteries. Couldn't be any happier. I mean, when it's topwater season, you're standing on a trolling motor, and you're standing on it all day long. And I really watch my voltage on my Garmin's. It shows you your voltage, what you're pulling at all times. First thing in the morning, you're running 12.3, 12.4, and throughout the day, standing on these trolling motors on high, getting around these docks when you're flipping them, or running banks topwater. By the end of the day here lately, I've noticed I'm still in the upper 11, pulling 11 volts. So they're not dropping much. They're really holding up well, a lot better than I can say in the past. Other batteries and things, I'm just real impressed with how they hold up. And that's real important, especially as we're going to move into the fall and start getting into these topwater where you're just standing on the trolling motor just all day long, covering a lot of ground looking for the big ones. So, like I said, those batteries, they're a different design battery. They're more with a like a mesh, and they hold up and they're more durable, especially on the Ozarks. A lot of waves. You don't have near the trouble with your lead cylinders and things going bad. So I contribute that, the design of them for holding up a lot better. So, I got mine through Wholesale Batteries Incorporated. One in Kansas City, one in St. Louis, some other distributors. Just look them up online. And those guys know batteries too. So you call up there, you're not going to get, the guy at whatever auto parts store that don't know about everything necessarily, knows a lot, but not a whole lot about one particular thing. Where these guys at Wholesale Batteries, that's what they do. So call them up, tell them what you're doing, what you're running, and let them tell you or give you recommendations on what to run, and they're gonna set you up right and take care of you. So get that done before fall, because it's coming quick. Can't wait for it. But like I said, if you guys are fishing the by chance Summer Sizzler tomorrow, that'll be a great time. It's a 2-day event, so from what I've seen this week, I'll say if you have somewhere between 14 and 16 pounds, you're going to be right in the thick of it. If you bust 18, 20, you'll be doing real good. That's just my thought. We'll see you tomorrow after the first day, 2-day event. You can't win it, can't lose it on the first day. So just go out there and try to be consistent. But if you get 15 pounds, 16 pounds, I'd be feeling pretty good. You 17, 18, you're doing real good. So that's an event Bass and Bob puts on every year. Great event, a lot of fun. Just a lot of not so tournament serious. Just guys having a good time, friend, trading stories, what have you. I do know he's giving 5% of all the entries to the Terrell family. They can really use just a lot of moral support and any kind of support you can give them right now. Went through some tough times, and we're all really sad about what happened. I haven't said a whole lot about it, but great family. Went through some tragic things. So if you see them, say hi. Tell them you're thinking about them. But other than that, guys, not a whole lot else this week. It's busy. Every week I tell you it's the same. It's busy. The roads are busy. The lake's busy. So try to get out early. Fish, and maybe again in the evening, or get up in one of them river arms. It gets busy on the main lake. It's pretty tough to navigate around and fish it, but you can get way up these river arms. I don't care which one it is: Glaze, Niangua, Osage, Gravish. Get way up there. Them big boats ain't up in there. Jet skis ain't nowhere near as busy. You can get up there and flip, run a square bill, top wire, and you can catch them. And there's some big ones up in all these creek arms. And it's a lot of fun. So you can still get out and fish. Just because it's busy down here doesn't mean you got to quit fishing. Just go fish way back in No Wake Cove or one of these big creek arms and have fun. Spend some time out on the water. So, until next week, we'll see what happens in Bass and Bob. One other thing, on the 24th, I'll be doing a free seminar. Bass and Bob puts on a weekly free seminar, which is always somebody good. Always have their version of baits, lures, techniques, and they stack it full of guys from every background, every style, whatever they like. Just some really good guys down here. They're just willing to share some good, popular, information that's going to help you catch fish. And everybody's there to answer questions. Any questions, whatever it is, rod, reel setup, baits, techniques, whatever. But I will be at the Osage Beach City Park on the 24th in the evening. I believe it's 6 o'clock. Just check Bass and Bob website for that. But that's a free seminar every Monday night, and I'll be doing mine on the 24th. So I'd like to see you come out and visit, and we'll talk fishing. So, until next week, we'll see you guys.